Hey guide, why do windows get all foggy in winter? Like 1 minute they're clear, and the next they're all misty, and I can't see outside. It's so annoying when I'm trying to watch the snow.
Ah, that's a great question, kiddo. It happens to me too, especially on those chilly mornings. Let's think about it step by step. You know how the air inside your house is nice and warm, right? From the heater, or maybe even from cooking breakfast. But the window glass? It's touching the cold air outside, so it gets super chilly. What do you think happens when that warm air inside bumps into the cold glass?
I guess the warm air gets cold too? But windows are dry, aren't they? Why would they suddenly get misty like that? It's not like someone's spilling water on them.
Good point. Windows do seem dry most of the time. But here's the secret. The air around us isn't completely dry. It holds tiny bits of water that we can't see, like invisible steam. We call that water vapor. When you're breathing, or even when Mom's boiling pasta, that adds moisture to the air. Now, warm air can hold a lot of that vapor, kind of like a sponge soaking up water. But when that warm, moist air touches something cold, like the window, the air cools down quickly. And cold air, it can't hold as much vapor. So, the extra water has to go somewhere. It turns into tiny droplets on the glass. That's the fog you see. It's called condensation. Ever noticed your breath fogging up a mirror after a hot shower? Same idea.
Oh yeah, like when I breathe on the bathroom mirror and draw smiley faces. So the cold glass is making the water in the air show up as drops? But why only in winter? It doesn't happen in summer.
Exactly. You've got it. In winter, the outside is way colder, so the glass gets chilled enough to cool the indoor air fast. In summer, everything's warmer, so no big temperature difference. Let me tell you a quick story. Last winter, I was at my grandma's house, and her kitchen window fogged up so bad from soup simmering that we couldn't see the birds at the feeder. We wiped it with a towel, but poof, it came right back, because the glass was still cold and more warm air kept hitting it. It's like the air is constantly delivering those invisible water bits, and the cold surface just pulls them out into view.
Whoa, that's cool. So it's not magic, it's just the air changing. But if the warm air is inside and the cold is outside, why does the fog always appear on the inside of the window, not the outside? That seems weird.
You're spotting something interesting there. Let's dig into why it's showing up where the warmth meets the cold in that specific way. Imagine the window as a barrier between two worlds, cozy inside and frosty outside. The moisture is coming from our side, where we're living and breathing.
Yeah, like our side has all the steamy stuff from showers or whatever. But if the moisture's from inside, why doesn't it just stay in the air? Air doesn't feel wet to me. It's not like splashing in a puddle. How does it turn into actual drops on the glass?
You're right. Air usually feels pretty dry, especially if you're not near the ocean or something. But let's break it down. Think of the air as a big, invisible backpack carrying water molecules, tiny bits of water floating around that we call vapor. You can't see or feel them because they're spread out and mixed in with the oxygen and stuff we breathe. Warm air is like a roomy backpack. It can hold a ton of that vapor without any problem. But when that warm air hits the cold window glass, it's like squeezing the backpack tight. The cold makes the air contract, and suddenly it can't carry all that vapor anymore. The extra water has no choice but to clump together into little liquid drops right on the surface. That's why you see the fog. It's the vapor turning visible as water.
Oh, so it's like when my soda can gets sweaty on a hot day? The can's cold from the fridge, and the air around it is warm, so drops form on the outside. Is that the same thing?
Spot on. That's condensation too. The warm air's moisture meeting a cold surface. In winter with windows, it's flipped. Warm inside air meets cold glass. There's even a science term for the temperature where this happens called the dew point. It's like the magic number where the air says, "Nope, can't hold this vapor anymore," and out come the drops. I remember one time at a science fair we had this demo with a mirror and a hairdryer. We'd cool the mirror with ice, then blow warm, moist air on it. Instant fog. It showed how the cold surface lowers the air's temperature right at that spot, hitting the dew point super fast. Without that chill, the vapor stays hidden in the air.
Cool, the dew point sounds like a tipping point or something. But if the air's always got this vapor, why doesn't everything cold get foggy? Like, my ice cream doesn't make the bowl misty inside the house.
Great observation. It depends on how much vapor is in the air and how cold the surface gets compared to the room. In a dry room, like in the desert, you'd need way colder glass to hit that dew point. But in your house during winter, with people breathing, plants evaporating water, or even laundry drying, the air's got more humidity. That's the amount of vapor hanging around. So the window, being the coldest spot touching the outside freeze, wins the fog contest. It's all about that balance. Ever tried breathing on a window versus a warm wall? The wall stays clear because it's not cold enough to force the vapor out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the cold glass is basically pulling the hidden water out of the air like a magnet. But in your grandma's story earlier, you said you wiped it and it came back. If I wipe the drops away, shouldn't it stay clear? The water's gone, right?
Ah, that's the tricky part. Wiping removes the drops you see, but the glass is still cold and more warm air is rushing in to take its place, bringing fresh vapor along.
Whoa, so it's like an endless supply? The air just keeps bringing more vapor to the cold glass, even after I wipe it? That explains why it fogs up again so fast, like in seconds sometimes. But shouldn't wiping heat the glass up a bit or something? I mean, my hand's warm when I touch it.
You're thinking like a little scientist there. Good catch. Your hand might warm a tiny spot for a moment, but the whole window stays chilly because it's still connected to that freezing outdoor air. It's like trying to warm up an ice cube with just your fingertip. The cold wins out pretty quick. The key is that condensation isn't a one-time thing. It's a process that's always happening as long as there's a temperature difference. Warm air circulates in the room, maybe from a vent or just people moving around, and it keeps delivering fresh, moist air to the glass. Each bit of air that touches the cold surface cools down, hits that dew point we talked about, and boom, more droplets form. It's continuous, like a conveyor belt dropping off water bits non-stop.
A conveyor belt, huh? That's funny to picture. Little vapor workers lining up to drop their loads. So if I wipe it super thoroughly, like with a dry cloth, does that make a difference? Or is it still going to reform right away?
Wiping does clear it, temporarily, sure. But yeah, it reforms fast. Unless you change something bigger. Let me share a quick experiment I did as a kid. I took a cold glass of water from the fridge and set it on the table. Drops formed on the outside. Condensation, right? I wiped it clean with a paper towel thinking I'd won. But nope. Within a minute, new drops appeared because the glass was still cold and the room's air kept supplying vapor. It's the same with windows. The moisture deposition doesn't stop. It's like the air is exhaling onto the glass over and over. Scientists measure this with humidity levels. Higher humidity means more vapor available, so faster fogging after you wipe.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just the drops I see, it's the whole setup keeping it going. But what if I blow on it with my breath after wiping? My breath is warm and moist. Wouldn't that make it worse?
Oh, you'd think so, and you're partly right. Your breath adds even more vapor, which could speed up the fogging on that cold surface. But if you were to blow dry warm air somehow, it might help a tiny bit by mixing things up. The real issue is that the glass temperature doesn't change much from wiping alone. It's still below the dew point, so any new air parcel that comes along gets cooled and deposits its moisture. Think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. Once it starts, it keeps growing unless you stop the hill from being slippery. In homes, this happens more in rooms with lots of activity, like the kitchen, where steam from cooking pumps extra vapor into the air, making the conveyor belt even busier.
Snowball downhill? Yeah, I get that. It's building up again because nothing's stopping the cold or the vapor supply. I've seen it on car windows too, when we're driving in winter and the inside gets all misty. Dad wipes it, but it comes back until he turns on the defroster. Is that kinda related?
Absolutely, same principle. Car windows fog from our breath and body heat, adding moisture inside, meeting the cold glass. The defroster works by blasting warm air to heat the glass, which raises its temperature above the dew point, so no more condensation. Back to house windows, though. After wiping, the quick reformation shows how dynamic the air is. It's not static. Currents and convection keep bringing in more moist air. Convection is just a fancy word for how warm air rises and moves around, like invisible waves in the room. So, unless the glass warms up or the air dries out, those tiny drops will keep appearing layer by layer, sometimes so thick you can write your name in them before they drip.
Writing my name. I've done that. It's fun, but yeah, annoying when you want to see out. So, basically, wiping is like a Band-Aid. It doesn't fix the root cause. The cold glass and the ongoing air movement just keep the party going with more droplets.
Spot on, kiddo. You've nailed why it reforms so quickly. It's that persistent chill and the endless supply of vapor from the room's air. Makes you wonder if there's a way to break that cycle altogether, doesn't it? Like tweaking the room to outsmart the fog before it even starts.
Yeah, totally. If wiping doesn't fix it for good, there must be smarter ways to stop the fog from happening in the first place. Like, can we really prevent it? I mean, fans or extra heat sound kinda random. Wouldn't they just stir things up without helping?
Oh, you're onto something, kiddo. Those ideas aren't as random as they seem. Let's unpack how to outsmart that foggy window. First off, remember the culprits. Cold glass meeting warm, moist air. To prevent it, we can tweak those factors. One way is to warm up the glass surface itself. Think about double pane windows. They're like two layers of glass with air trapped between, acting as insulation. That keeps the inner pane from getting as cold, so it's less likely to hit the dew point. I once visited a friend's house with those, and even on the frostiest days, their windows stayed crystal clear, while mine at home were a misty mess. No fog, because the cold couldn't sneak through as easily.
Double panes sound fancy, like a shield against the cold. But what if we don't have those? Can we just turn up the heat in the room to make everything warmer?
Turning up the heat helps a bit by making the whole room toastier, which can raise the glass temperature indirectly. But it's not the most efficient. It might just make you sweaty while wasting energy. A better trick is directing warm air right at the window, like with a small heater or even the defroster vent if it's near one. That warms the glass directly, pushing it above the dew point so vapor doesn't condense. And about fans. They actually do help, but not by heating. A fan increases airflow across the window, mixing the air so the moist stuff doesn't sit and build up in one spot. It's like stirring a pot of soup to keep it from burning on the bottom. The moving air spreads out the humidity, making it harder for droplets to form.
Stirring the air! That's clever! So a fan blows away the moist air before it can stick? But wouldn't it just bring more moist air from elsewhere in the room?
Sharp question. Yes, it might cycle in more air, but the key is circulation. It prevents a layer of still, cooling air from hugging the glass. In science terms, it reduces the boundary layer where condensation loves to happen. I tried this last winter. Placed a little desk fan pointing at my bedroom window on low speed. The fog that usually built up during movie nights? Gone. It kept things moving, and combined with cracking the window slightly to let out some humidity, it was a game changer. Speaking of humidity, that's another big lever. Reducing the moisture in the indoor air altogether.
Reduce humidity? Like how? The air's gotta have some vapor, right? From breathing and stuff?
Absolutely. We can't eliminate it completely, but we can dial it down. Use a dehumidifier. It's like a machine that sucks extra vapor out of the air, collecting it as water you pour away. Or simple things. Run the exhaust fan in the bathroom after showers to vent steamy air outside, or avoid drying clothes indoors on racks. Plants release moisture too, so maybe move them away from windows. I remember helping my neighbor set up a dehumidifier in her damp basement. Not only did the windows clear up, but the whole place felt less sticky. It's all about balance. Lower humidity means the air holds less vapor to begin with, so even if it hits cold glass, there's not enough to form visible fog.
Whoa, so it's like taking away the ingredients before the recipe starts. Fans for mixing, heat for warming the glass, and dehumidifiers for drying the air. That covers all the bases. But do these really work together, or is one the best?
They team up great. For example, in cars, the defroster combines heat and airflow to clear fog fast. At home, you could use a fan plus a dehumidifier for double power. The best choice depends on your setup. If it's super humid from cooking, focus on venting. If the glass is icy cold, prioritize warming it. Experimenting is half the fun, like being a fog detective. Just remember, prevention beats wiping every time.
Yeah, I get it now. No more endless misty windows if we tweak the air, the glass, or the moisture. It's like having superpowers over the fog. Thanks, Guide. This makes winter views way less annoying. I feel ready to try these tricks myself.